Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
And the Calgary Flames win, but at what cost? My name is Conrad Krausert, reporting to you live after a Calgary Flames overtime win as the Disneyland curse remains broken. The Flames pick up the win 3-2. But oh boy, does it cost them, and cost them big. We'll get into that shortly. Hi, welcome to Game Over Calgary, your source for game analysis and breakdown after the 60 minutes of hockey action after every Calgary Flames game, home and away. Of course, the Flames make their mom's trip down to Southern California. I can think of worse places to be, even though it is a little dangerous and smoky down in the Los Angeles area. My thoughts and prayers going out to those who are being evacuated by the combination of some forest fires and some Santa Ana winds. So for those of you who are potentially affected, hopefully this is short-lived. But before we get into the show proper, let's get our first ad out of the way. And let's get me on the right period. My goodness. It's not the third. I still got 40 minutes of action before we're there. But have you tried shifting into hyperdrive yet? If not, get ready to have some fun with your new source for all the biggest stories in hockey, bringing a unique style of broadcasting and a commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a fun atmosphere that will drive debate, make you think, and more. And maybe bring a few laughs. We'll need them after today. Join Max Van Oat, Daphne Malbouf, and Kevin Larmé every Tuesday and Friday for your fill of hockey news from around the hockey world. Watch on YouTube here on the Game Over Network host channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. Head over to the website, thegameovernetwork.com, for more. Matt C., thanks for jumping in chat. And I have very similar views to you on how this one went. But let's do the breakdown first, shall we? Let's go through this goal by goal, because the Flames never trailed in this one, which is rare for us to say. Usually has to be the come from behind wins in the third period. But the Flames actually, you know what? Pretty good 60-minute effort. Birthday boy Mackenzie Weegar, his 31st birthday, with his mom in attendance, opens the scoring. A very, very great time for a goal when he can score with less than a minute left in the period. It's a backbreaker. It changes momentum going into the intermission. It was an even strength goal, a deflection. But Blake Coleman and Joel Hanley draws his first assist of the year. Nifty little drop-off play at Hanley, and it bounces off the back of Mackenzie Weegar, but got to be good to be lucky, and lucky to be good. His 5th of the season. And I'll take the time now to mention how good Mackenzie Weegar has been, despite only scoring 5 goals. He has maybe been the most complete Flames defenseman for this first half of the season, and I don't think I'm controversial in saying that. Rasmus Andersson has had moments of absolute brilliance, but he's also had moments of less than stellar play. I would say that Mackenzie Weegar has been the one that's been righting the ship more often than not. Whether that's on the power play with his incredible chemistry with Jonathan Huberdeau, or whether that's in cases like today, driving to the front of the net and just having it bounce off him. Knowing when to and where to get involved has certainly been Mackenzie Weegar's forte this season. And I'm certainly glad to see him score with his mom in attendance. Obviously, as I mentioned, it is the mom's trip down to Southern California, starting in Anaheim, and then you get to go to the Los Angeles Staples Center tomorrow night. So a brief weekend with the moms. Not the worst thing you can do to beat off the winter blues. And then, unfortunately, we had an incident before any of the scoring started in the second period. That was Drew Hellison with the kneeing incident, a 5-minute major, and a game misconduct. Took out Connor Zary, and it didn't look good, folks. I encourage you to not look up the replays if you're anywhere squeamish. Ugly play. There's arguments that it's a part of a hockey play. There's argument you shouldn't be leaning that hard on your knee and having that be the primary point of contact, even if it is part of play. But we'll break that down a little bit later. Needs to be mentioned. Shifts the tone and how I think Flames fans and Ducks fans are feeling about this game. But needed to be mentioned. Alex Killorn, he gets his 8th of the year to level it up for the Ducks. Was a turnover by the Flames deep in the zone, or deep in the Duck zone. Good breakout play, and Alex Killorn scores. They're going to call it even strength, as it was a 4-on-4 goal, but not much Wolfie could have done there. And you're coming off 2 minutes ago, your comrade and one of the players who has stirred the drink for this team leaving the game not under his own power. So you obviously had that a little bit of a emotional drop-off. If you've ever played sports and you've ever had a serious injury in your game, you know that that's just kind of the reality of it. As soon as something like that happens, it does take the wind out of your sails. So the fact that Duck scores, not surprising, but Flames need to battle back, and they do. Nazem Kadri, his 15th goal of the year, and that first line stays hot. It's a face-off play. Kadri wins the puck cleanly. It's it over to Hanley for his second assist of the game. And then Kadri just drives hard to the net and tips it home. Been a phenomenal stretch for that top line. And then Mason McTavish, he ties it up late. Flames take a penalty, and something we've harped on all season is how poor the Flames penalty kill has been. And despite having your top unit out, it was a tip from McTavish, and not much more you can say about that one. Then we go into overtime. Flames control most of the possession. They also are on the power play after a tripping call, or they called it interference. I thought it was more of a trip, but 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Flames break into the zone. Kadri gets denied, but then just a boneheaded move by a veteran defenseman. Jacob Trouba tries to play it off the end boards, and it just flutters right out in front, and the Flames' newest power forward tucks it home, and the Flames take 2 points out of Anaheim, a place where they have historically struggled to get wins. But as I said, it's the cost that bothers me. Welcome to Moose's here, also joining in chat. I will kind of answer that question when we go to the overtime period. I know it's late. I'll try and keep everything somewhat short so we can all get to bed if you're in the mountain time zone. It's a problem with these Pacific puck drop times, especially when it's an 8 o'clock mountain puck drop. A lot of people go to bed, don't have time to watch overtime. Reminder, you can watch here on YouTube, or we do upload in podcast form. Catch it on your favorite podcaster of choice if you can't watch the whole episode tonight. Watch on your drive to work tomorrow. Or listen, rather. So, obviously, this is now where we're going to talk about the main event, so to say, of this game. And that was the kneeing of Connor Zary and it not looking good. I was kind of in a group chat with some friends, and a friend of mine kind of was like, you know, it's kind of a little weird this season. As soon as one of the Flames players seemed to start to get going, get off the schneid a little bit, there seems to be a knee injury that happens. We've seen it 3 times this season. It started with Anthony Mantha. He was red hot off the start, then dipped down. The Cadre Whisperer, or not Cadre Whisperer, the Huberdeau Whisperer messaging kind of died off. Then he starts to pick it up and gets a knee injury on the road. ACL injury, ends his season. Then you have maybe the feel-good story of the start of the season for the Flames, Justin Kirkland. This guy that's battled out in the AHL, finally starting to deserve, he is a full-time NHLer in a fourth-line role. Great in the shootout. Starts to produce 5-on-5. ACL injury, done for the year. Connor Zary, been the straw that has stirred the drink for the Calgary Flames all year long. Can't score, starts to put the puck in the net, starts to roll, gets kneed, 5-minute major, game misconduct in this one. And everyone out there in the social media sphere is just hoping and praying it isn't as bad as it looked. But it's something that the Flames just can't get lucky with, it seems, this year. As I said, as soon as someone starts performing, as soon as they start getting the ball rolling, believing that Connor Zary is going to be taking a step forward. We've had the feel-good story of Justin Kirkland, as he was referred to by Dustin Wolf, Mr. Automatic, in the shootout. And Anthony Mantha finally starting to turn into what we were told as he was a free agent coming in. That he's a guy who has all the tools, just hasn't put it all together. And all 3 of them now, I don't want to prognosticate. I'm not a doctor, let alone a doctor that can diagnose an injury from a time zone away. But I can say it didn't look good. That's the Sharky. Off to a slow start. Had a lower body injury. Didn't have a preseason, really. And look at where his stats are at this year. Now grab some water. These solo shows are a little bit tough, especially after... Got a little bit of a nagging cough after the Circle K Classic. We'll talk a little bit about that wonderful tournament in overtime as well, because I think that's kind of the story of Connor Zary. But yeah, it's tough when you're admittedly team tank, like I am. You kind of cling to these bright spots. And Connor Zary has been that for this first half of the season. Showing Flames fans this is a guy that you can invest in. He's going to be one of the best moving forward. And then for it to be a tough injury, I can't say whether I believe was an intentional hanging of the knee. I'm not going to get into that from either side. But it's so hard for a player who's shown, even in games where the rest of the Flames aren't interested in playing the sport of hockey, Connor Zary has been trying to make individual efforts, has made some of these abysmal Flames games watchable. Turned some games on his head. Obviously, the Flames wouldn't have their win in Vancouver without the Connor Zary individual effort overtime goal. So it's a tough one to watch as a Flames fan. Hope the best for Connor. At least his mom's there. If it's as devastating as everyone is kind of prognosticating that it will be, at least he has that form of support with him. Ryan Huska said hasn't saw it live, didn't like it in the moment, but hasn't had a chance to watch it again yet. And yeah, I'm watching the video that was mentioned here by Moose of the Flames moms getting high fives from all the players. Obviously, the video is of the most videogenic Calgary Flame Ryan Lomberg that I'm watching. But yeah. Let's go to period number 2, because I want to talk about something that some will view as controversial. But I think it needs to be said after this event, because I think it's enough to make its own segment and discussion here. But before we get to period number 2, you get through ad read number 2. The Game Over Network is an independent production focused on community, inclusion, and quality people. If you're interested in supporting us here at the Game Over Network, we have crowdfunding options available down in the description. We're also looking to launch a page through LaRouche, which is a crowdfunding platform for companies originating in Quebec with LaRouche. We're aiming to raise $15,000, and if we hit that goal, we'll gain access to government grants that will allow us to employ more people. If you have any ideas for what you'd like to see as giveaways and those crowdfunding efforts, let us know in the comments on Twitter, Instagram, our Discord server, Blue Sky, Smoke Signals, Telegraph message. However you want to get it to us, let us know. We are discussing maybe doing some video game nights, whether that's us as a couple Game Over hosts taking on our fans, whether that's mixing it up, maybe that's doing some GM mode on Shell. I've heard that being kicked around, where maybe we as Flames fans could try and, rebuild, retool, however we want to phrase whatever is going on in Calgary Flames land. Pretend that we're Murray Edwards. Let us know. But anyways, the Anaheim Ducks organization's a little tough. The chanting when Connor Zary is being literally carried off the ice of ref you suck because they're reviewing a 5-minute major penalty to see if it's a major penalty, trying to downgrade the penalty potentially, and then chanting "you can't win here" as the game was going on. That's pretty gutless. I don't have a lot of time for that. Obviously, we remember my rant about the wave. And the Flames fan did that again, and the Flames lost against Nashville. I don't have a lot of time for that as someone who's around this game. Maybe it's a Canadian thing. Or maybe it's how I was raised. But you pay respect to this elite athlete who's gone down clutching his leg. You can be upset with the call. You can be upset that your team's going to be down a man, potentially for 5 minutes. But that was a pretty cut and dry kneeing call to me, even if I'm a neutral. To be chanting "ref you suck," I don't have a lot of time for that as a fan. Didn't hear people clapping as the player is assisted off the ice like you see very often at Flames games. You see it at Stampeders games. Maybe it's a Calgary thing, but I just want to say I wasn't too happy with the reception of the fans at the Honda Center. And I get it. You're fans. You've paid whatever, $35. I don't know what ticket prices are like at the Honda Center. You're entitled to do what you will. Doesn't mean I have to be impressed with it. I think you can do better as fans. But that's my 2 cents. I'm sure there's probably fans, probably people in chat that disagree with me. That's my opinion on it. So yeah, that's our brief second period. As I said, I'm going to try and keep this one a little shorter, as we all want to get to bed as it's already 11:13 here local time in Calgary, Alberta. Just looking to see if there's anything more on the Neon Knee coming from any of our sources down in Anaheim. I gotta say, that's also, sorry, no, I remember now I was going to talk about something else with the fan bases. There was a fan who had the old school Anaheim Mighty Ducks Teemu Selanne jersey at the end of the game. Finger pressed up right up to the glass. I'm pretty sure you know which finger he was gesturing with. And like, I don't get that, man. Like, I get it. Be upset your team lost. If you feel the need to stand there and flip the bird, it's a game. It's a game we all love. All of us here that are in chat watching, thank you so much for tuning in. For me, we're the 1% of fans. We care deeper than most people. But I don't think that's kosher. And I don't think the man that you're wearing on the back of your jersey, Teemu Selanne, would be very proud of that gesture. But hey, that's just me. And we'll try and lighten it up a little bit, as Matt C already knows exactly what I'm going to be talking about in period number 3. Game Over has you covered after the game. That's why you're here, for the post-game coverage. But get ready to watch your favorite team or your favorite sport in general. And to do that, you've got to get your Game On too. Game On Hockey is a short-form daily news coverage podcast that is talking about everything you need to know about the hockey world today in under 10 minutes. The central show is hosted by Graham Mossman Monday through Friday on the Game Over Network YouTube channel. Heard we may be going to 3 days a week. Not confirmed on that yet. That's just on the rumor mill. And if you don't catch it on the YouTube channel, you can catch it on your favorite podcast network. Or you can find it on the GameOverNetwork.com. Game On will also be returning with local news in each Canadian market, so you can get your breakdown from every team. And that net will be returning soon. So Matt C asked this question in chat, and it was where I was going with this. If Zary misses some time, looks like he will miss some. I think it's going to be a little bit more than some, from my opinion. Will they move Sharkey to center, or is this finally a chance for Rory Cairns? I think it has to be the chance for Rory Cairns. I don't think we see him tomorrow, because that is a very, very long plane ride. It's a 3+ hour plane ride into LAX, and I've heard they're actually rerouting planes out of LAX. So you'd probably have to fly into San Diego and then bus up, or I guess Uber or cab or something, if you needed to get Cairns down there desperately. So I think probably against the Kings tomorrow, you see Walker Duehr back in the lineup in that fourth line role, which of course means you have to move my least favorite winger off of the fourth line. And that's not great long term, in my opinion, for us to have to run Andrei Kuzmenko on a third line. So yeah, I think the long-term solution of this medium-term problem will probably be Cairns. As I just do a quick Google here just to look at the organizational depth chart at center, because it is a little bit dicey in terms of, do you call up Cairns, who is a 2002, or do you call up Clark Bishop? Bishop has a little bit of the older age pedigree, Also makes less than Rory Cairns on an NHL level deal. But man, oh man, is it feeling like an error in holding 8 defensemen. Like, the further we go in this season, it just feels like that just has really hampered the Flames. Because we lost. Who was it we lost to Vegas? That's what I'm trying to Google here, folks. Because we claimed Pahal. It was Cole Schwint. That's the name. Like, would Cole Schwint have been a guy that had stuck around half the year, sitting and playing in that rotational role? Especially when Rooney went down, when the Flames have continued to have injuries. And would that have been any better than what was going on by holding Tyson Barrie for half a season? Like, it's just... It feels so bad considering what our center depth is at this point. And maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. But when we look now, say we call up Bishop or Cairns, 50-50 could go either way. Your only player under an NHL contract then is whichever one you don't call up. So whether that's Bishop or Cairns. Then you have Trevor Hopkins, Luke Misa, Jaden Lipinski, Hunter Lang, and Kay Littler. None of them signed. Of course, then you can argue, oh, what about Sam Honzak? Honzak's not a center where he's at in his development. Sam Morton, maybe that's a little bit more arguable that he could be a center. But it's so tough. Like, looking at the depth chart according to prospects and just being like, how did we go from having a guy who was ready to make that jump, see him get claimed, and then us being 1 or 2 injuries away from having to run Clark Bishop and Rory Cairns as your 3rd and 4th pair. Or 3rd and 4th center. But I guess that is the reality of the NHL. Especially if we're not going to play Igor Sharangovich down the middle. And as I said, that's probably your short-term answer. But I don't know. I'm not confident in saying that. It's so tough because we've always heard that the Flames are looking for this elusive mid-20s center, and maybe this forces Craig Conroy's hand. Maybe he has to make that deal before the trade deadline if the coals are on the fire to bring in that center just because we're so badly up S's Creek without a paddle. If you don't feel either Cairns or Bishop are good enough to get you to where you want to be. All right. So now that that's addressed, I think we'll head to the overtime period. And I forgot to do this ad read last time. But what's better... Is there a better way to support something you love than by rocking it as clothing? I think not. If it wasn't laundry day, I'd have my Flames or Game Over Flames shirt on right now. Game Over's apparel line has dropped to 3 unique designs. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, want to make a statement with our established design, want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our Live and Die by the Goalie design, or if you just need another coffee mug to get through the cold winter. Even though it's not so cold, we got a Chinook going on. Still never a bad time for a coffee or hot chocolate. But we got you covered. Designed by Brady Chalice from the Game Over Winnipeg alumni. Use the QR code that I will be putting on screen. So I totally forgot to do that. Use the QR code down in the bottom corner there to pick up any of our merch. And help us rebuild sports media throughout Canada while repping this amazing community. So I saw that there was a couple questions in the chat, but this is where we will take your questions. I'm trying to keep this one under 45 minutes because, you know, it's late, as I said. So I'll scroll back through the chat. Matt C. back at the start. Sharangovich can't buy a goal. No, he cannot. He had a couple empty nets and put one right through the wickets. So it's just frustrating at this point how unlucky the man who loves Lego is. Maybe you need to say, you're not taking morning skate tomorrow. I'm sending you down to Carlsbad, California. Go have a morning at Legoland. Go get your happy vibes on. Go buy some new sets. We'll put them on the charter for you. Just go have a good morning. Come back for the game. Win some face-offs. Score some goals.
Warning, incoming game over. Warning.
Okay, yeah, well, I knew that was going to happen. Ugh, we're in overtime. It's late. You got to see the intro again. Can't believe the Flames moms. They play with passion. The moms are a big motivator. Yeah, you saw that from Nazem Kadri pointing right up to the moms up in the booth. Maybe that is... We saw this last year as well with the Flames dad's trip. This team seems to be really motivated by these external factors, so maybe we need to do some more of these themed road swings. I don't know, maybe the next one needs to be the dogs road trip. Actually, I think it was Sharangovich who's scared of dogs. So maybe that's a bad idea. But yeah, it seems that we do well with these themed away days. So maybe that's the way we need to do it. Moose is here then posed this question. Conrads, what are your thoughts on the Flames' interest to sign Vancouver's Elias Pettersson? Which player would you trade for him? So I was joking around with Kaya and Kay and the crossover between the Canucks and the Habs about this. Unfortunately, I don't think the Flames are kind of high on that list because we've heard recently the Canucks are looking for a center in exchange for either of Hughes or Petey. Especially losing Connor Zary, I don't think the Flames are likely to move the one center who I think could potentially be swayed to waive his no movement to go to Vancouver, that being Nazem Kadri. But if Vancouver are willing to move off of that line, I think there is probably some combination of Rasmus Andersson and picks that could get involved if you're the Flames and you're like me or James Johnson or Mike Gould and you're severely on Team Tank and you think that you're willing to accept this down year that Elias Pettersson is having and believe that he has the pedigree and the ability to be a much improved player next year, and say Rasmus is kind of starting to fall off the cliff of regression. So I think that would probably be where the trade would have to start. Am I sure of what the other pieces are? Not entirely. But I think that's where it has to start, at the very least. I don't want to move any picks, because I think the Flames still need to recognize that this is a free fall season. Yet again, we find ourselves stuck in the mushy middle with no real direction other than maybe seeing what happens now that Connor Zary may be missing an extended period of time. So that's at least where my mind's at as we sit here on January 7th. Ask me again in a week or when I'm back for the LA Kings when they come to town on Saturday. And we'll see where we're at. The other thing I was going to say, even Sharky had a little, but we could address that. Zary missed some time. Okay, we've talked about that. So I'm going to call that an episode. Obviously, the Flames back in action tomorrow as they take on the Los Angeles Kings. My buddy Matt will be driving us through that. Matt DeMille. And just to not give a full spoiler, but keep you in the loop, we may see some new faces on the Game Over Calgary channel as January progresses. That's what they call it as a tease in the industry. But for myself, Conrad Krausert, you can find me for now still on X at Conrad Casts, on Blue Sky as at conradkrausert.bsky.com or whatever their tag system is over there. Once again, please join us on Discord, on Insta, on X, the Everything app, on Blue Sky, wherever you may be on social media. We'll see you again. The Flames go again tomorrow. It'll be Vladar likely getting the start as the Flames look at what life without Connor Zary will be when they go again tomorrow in Los Angeles.